Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. This is Shavonna Noble, your future physician that you will soon know around the world. I want to welcome you to my channel, and if it is your first time, I'm glad you are here. A little bit about me: I'm a second-year non-traditional medical student attending a school in the Caribbean, and the channel is basically to help those looking to obtain a degree or get some insight on my medical journey and share my life lessons that I've grown in Christ and all the things that He has in store for me as we go forward. So, and I make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that share button. Look, I wanted to say something else, but hit that share button for those, and send it to someone who may be interested in medical school or just in general. Whatever it may be a video that pops in, be like, I need to share that. I promise it's going to help. So now let's get to this video. I got a lot to say. I haven't posted a video in a while because the transition of being on break, then we got school, and then going home, coming back. I had a wedding that I was in and then had to go home, come back. So all of that was just, and then trying to make sure that I am in line with what is going on with school. I didn't have time for these videos. I was like, let me get my life together because I need to do well in these classes, all right? So yeah, that's why I've been a little bit MIA. But let's get this message because, like I said, I have a lot to say. And today's message is called The Reason Why a Caribbean Medical School May Not Be For You. Now, let me add in 16 reasons why, because y'all seen the last one. It was 8 reasons why you may want to go to a Caribbean school, why it may be for you. But now it's 16 because guess what? It ain't everything that you thought it was going to be. And I thought it was going to be so much greater. And I was hoodwinked. So tune in today. All right, guys. So I want to say a disclaimer because I don't want people to like get all distracted, or not distracted, but I don't want to deter you from coming to the school wherever you go. But what I want to say is this country is absolutely beautiful. So living on an island is excellent for a vacation for a short time, okay? Not a long time, all right? To some, you may get used to it and begin to love it, I guess. But what I'm about to say is not to deter you, like I said, from going to school out of the country, because wherever you get in, that is where you should go. And definitely pray before you go too. And if God gives you multiple options, then choose anywhere, because that means that any opportunity or any school you choose is a good choice. But always ask questions. And I'm going to do a video on that too, because it was some questions I didn't know I needed to ask once again. And then I came here, but that's the way God had for me. So being out of the country may not suit your preference. And I don't think you ever get used to being away from your family or get used to a certain way of life after you've lived a certain way. So you will learn after this message, which will bring awareness to those that may be in limbo about where to apply. So the funny thing is, I wanted to leave the country years ago, like, and I mean the U.S. because that's where I'm from. And if you watch my other video, I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. So I made a 5, 10, 15-year plan. And for those who know me, they know I'm a planner. I be planning, y'all, because God gives me vision. All right. So I was anticipating studying abroad. And when I was getting my master's degree, I thought God would like open the door to allow me to go to Costa Rica, because at that time, that's the only option they had, like to do a semester for study abroad. So unfortunately, the pandemic happened and I had to pack all my bags and everything and go back home to Las Vegas. All right. It was sad and I was mad. But yeah. And I realized that if I had had that experience any earlier, I would have not chosen my school, my medical school. Why? Because God knew that the circumstances that I would be going through now, and I probably would have been going through them at that time too. And then I definitely wouldn't have been like, nope, not going there, even though this was a God move and it was on purpose, you know. So God allowed me to understand that opportunities, as I went throughout my medical journey, I chose a school because I realized that opportunities, it takes a minute for some opportunities to come back around. So it's best to go wherever you were accepted and not to be picky, okay? Because you don't know when that's gonna come back around. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and take this opportunity and accept this admission and go to the school. So I thank God for wisdom, even though I dislike the setup of school, and I can finally, even though I dislike the setup of school, I can finally say I am a medical student. pursuing her degree, her MD, soon will be a physician, yes, who did not have to apply over and over again in the US. And living out the country is challenging, but the bigger picture is I'm here on purpose with purpose to become a doctor of medicine. So it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there, all right? So the reality of living on the island is people always say like, oh my gosh, you're in the Caribbean, you must love it there. And my response is, I don't want to say love. How about I almost want to say hate? Because guess what? I'm more than likely doing one or two things. It's not like I come here to play. You know, like how you go on a vacation and you so excited about being there. No, we're not doing that. I'm more than likely doing one or two things. I'm going to school, come home, going to school, come home, going to school, come home. There's no variation in between. So once you actually go and live in a place, you have to adopt their way of living that may not be your normal way of living. So always remember, like if you choose to go out of the country or wherever, remember you are here for school. If you make that choice, and it's not a vacation like you may think, but there are definitely some perks too. There are some perks for many, but it is sure some cons. Now let's get into that. Number one, as this airplane flies by, number one, culture shock. Medical students deal with many adjustments throughout basic sciences and clinical alone. So other factors can alter a student's performance, which I didn't know. I was not aware of who has to adjust to the rigors of medical school and a new country. So we already know that you're gonna go out of the state or whatever the case is, or you may stay in your state. Nothing may never change. But I choose to believe the life that those that are out of the country is a way different life than those that live in the States. So before I started school, I never thought about how a new environment could affect me or what to look out for when moving to the Caribbean. Now, I understand, like, because I moved before I went to Virginia, but that environment was really no different. It was the fact that I was just away from my family, but it only took like 4 hours to get there, right? So I still had everything around me. It was never a thought that living in a beautiful place like this would turn out to be a daily mental struggle. I lived in the desert all my life, like Las Vegas, yes, in the U.S. I had transportation, I had the ability to eat all my favorite foods. I was able to go to the mall because I love to shop. You still got Target, you still got Walmart. You can order something and it'll be at your doorstep the next day. You got free medical insurance, and immediately you can schedule an appointment with the doctor, whatever the case is, and all the medical resources are local. And nothing had to be sent to another location like living here. Like it's a lot. It ain't what, you know, if you get sick, you might have to take a flight and go back to the States. So moving out of the country, all the convenience cease. I never considered any of these things because I never lived without them. So to take it from me when choosing or considering a school or location, please consider the environment, the health system, the cost of flights, expenses, groceries, transportation. Are there places that you can go to? Because if not, you are more than likely going to have to figure out like what makes you happy in this new place. And you don't have time for that when you're a medical student. Now I got to figure out what makes me happy. Now I have no outlet, and that's what I was going through. There was no real outlet. Like I'm doing the same thing every day, and I'm like, there's no outlet because for one, I don't have no car, and I've never lived without a car. Like what is this? So yeah. And ultimately, you will be frustrated and for the first year, like I was, and depressed. But okay, but not saying that you will be depressed, but I just want to bring awareness and help you to be a little bit more prepared that you are moving to a new place, and that could probably take 2 years of your life or more, depending on if you pass all your classes on time. So just be mindful. It's almost like you going back to some dang on shut-in type madness because, or as if it was like with the pandemic, you just in your place. Because that's exactly what it feel like. Every time I fly back, I'm like, I leave convenience and come to an inconvenience. That's just what it feel like. But success is not always convenient. All right. Praise the Lord. Number 2, accreditation. Please be mindful and always make sure that your school is accredited before you decide you just gonna leave the country and flee. Don't flee too quick because you might be right back in the States. So just make sure that your school is accredited. And next thing is Number 3, tuition. So your institution may only use private loans and not federal, which can become a hassle when you have to pay for your tuition because, yeah, be mindful that you need to actually have good credit in order to get that, or else somebody has to co-sign for you. So the whole little private and federal loans, that can be a mess. So if you want to go to a school that's in the Caribbean, I would say choose a school that you don't have to pay out of pocket and you can actually use the federal loans from the school. Now, the turnover rate sometimes for those schools can be a lot because some students may not even get through. That can be one of the downfalls of being in the Caribbean, but just be mindful that you have to use credit when you are at a school that may be out the country, and that means you have to use a private loan. And if your credit isn't good, then you have to get a cosigner. So just be mindful of that. And so them having to check your credit, it's easier to go to a school that you just automatically get federal loans. Because that is ridiculous. And some people can struggle with that by not being able to pay their tuition, and then next thing you know, you're not able to go to school anymore. And the thing about that is those credits that you just did don't transfer. So if you run out of money or whatever the case is, or you don't get approved for your loan, guess what? Now you're gonna have to find another way to get this money because the school is not gonna help you. I know for sure mine, they'd be like, oh, well, maybe you need to find someone that can give you some money. Or like they told one girl, she had a car and she was like, I have bills to pay. So she needed extra money, extra funding. And they were like, well, maybe you need to sell your car. Not, I'm going to sell my car and I'm going back home. This is not my permanent residence. What are you talking about? So yeah, just keep that in mind. The 4th thing that I want to talk about is the cost of living is expensive. So housing, it's not even necessarily the housing because you can get housing like anywhere on the island. But the thing is, with housing, it can range from like $500 if you live with multiple people, right? But if not, then it goes up to like $800 to like $2,300. Living alone, sometimes you may have to add in utilities that you have to pay for because our school does not have housing, their own housing. You are more so in designated housing, not in designated housing, that's with other schools, but our housing is spread out throughout the island. So at some schools, they actually have designated housing, which you can stay on campus. Like SGU, I think, has designated housing that I know of. But yeah, so you have to find housing outside of your school. You have to find housing outside of your school. And within the cost of living is buying groceries every week. So make sure here you don't get food stamps, because I know that some people, they are aware that you can get food stamps in the US now that they passed something to allow students. It was like during the pandemic, they allow you to get food stamps now. Well, that ain't happening because guess what? We're not even in US. We're a US school, but you don't get US benefits. And of course, you're not in a country that's the US. So yeah, now you gotta cook. And I found myself doing that because I was homesick. So I'm like trying to create everything that I can create in my kitchen because I can't find that food here. So more than likely, if you're not at the grocery store and our grocery system is so crazy because you're on an island, some stuff, every week there's a new shipment. So throughout the week, there may be nothing that you can find in this grocery store because everybody going like a Wednesday. And then some stuff is probably not going to be there at all. And it might take another month for it to get here. So if you're looking for something specific and they don't have it, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get it. All right. So the food options here, there are not a lot of food options, which is another problem of being in another country. There is no McDonald's. There is no Subway, no Wendy's, no Chick-fil-A, none of that. Well, here, actually, now let me take that back. We got Burger King, which you're about to spend about $25 before you even leave, because the food is $25 for a combo. Maybe, okay, I'm gonna say, let me not say 20, 16, okay? It's still expensive for no apparent reason. Not we at Burger King, fast food, and I'm spending restaurant prices. What is this? What is this? Okay, so then we do have KFC here, but you don't have a lot of food options, so that's the next thing. Now let's move on to number 5, transportation fees. So you have 1 or 2 ways, I guess you can say, to get on the island. You have the flights, that's how you get on this island because you can't drive. Then you have the taxis that are on the island, and then you got your own 2 feet. It's like so fun, okay, right? So yeah, you got your 2 feet that you can basically get around. But the thing is with the flights, this is the number one problem, is that they can cost between $1,100 to about $2,000 something round trip or more, depending on where you're from. So what could possibly be multiple flights if you lived in the States or weekends with your family turns into 2 weeks with your family and you can't see everybody. And what I mean by 2 weeks is we have 4-month semesters and then you only get 2 weeks off in between those semesters. So yeah, and then the flight, like for me, I can't just fly home. Like you have to live close by if you are in the Caribbean. Not have to, but if this is where you accept it, just know. If you live far away, I am 7,000 miles away from this, from where my school is. 7,000 miles. And so catching a flight on the weekend just to like go run and do something and be like, oh, I'm gonna pop in and come see y'all. No, for one, I'm gonna pop in and now it ain't even gonna be, it's gonna be an hour, because guess what? It just took me a whole day to get up over here. So that's the problem. You need to actually live close by so that you are not on the flight so long. And even with that too, because I am on West Coast time, over here it's the Atlantic time. So, well, I'm on Pacific and then this is Atlantic. Now we got the time difference, and yeah, that's another problem. So just be mindful of that. The next thing is car rentals. It's too expensive to rent a car, okay? It is $500 a month. So for some, that'd be like, maybe what, like $1,900 something, around that range, $2,000 because it's 4 months. So yeah, for a rental. So yeah, I hate to, not saying that I don't want to use the local transportation, like I just don't, right? But it's better to save money and not have a car because of that $500 that you have to spend just to have the car. But then I'd rather have convenience than me having to call somebody constantly to come pick me up. And that's another thing. So you have the H bus where it's like $1 to go to one place. Like you go down to port and then you can come back home the same way. Like it's $1 going and coming. But that's only if you're going there. If you want to go somewhere else, now I got to pay for a taxi. And more than likely, if you don't have a car, the taxi is like $11 one way and $11 back. So now I have to pay $22 and I haven't even left and went nowhere yet. I'm still in my apartment paying for this taxi fee, right? So just be mindful of that, yeah, it's not cheap here. Like nothing is cheap. Transportation is off the chain as usual with these flights. Then you have car rentals that if you want to spend that $500, go right ahead. I chose not to, so that's why I just walk to school and home, because guess what? It's too much energy trying to get a taxi and pay more money. But you might end up paying $500 a month if you are somebody that wants to go everywhere all the time. All right, so yeah, the last thing is just use your feet. Okay, the next thing is communication. You'll need to either add on international calling or buy a phone here to call internationally. So you can use WhatsApp, FaceTime, you know, stuff like that. If somebody has the FaceTime, Facebook Messenger, anything on Wi-Fi basically. So that's another fee that you have to either purchase a phone when you get here and then you gotta pay another phone bill. And then you have another phone bill back at home. So when you get back in the States, then you can put your SIM chip in that one. That's all that good stuff. And then the next thing is banking and finances. I think this is number 6, I'm not sure, but yeah, banking and finances. You need money to live as a student in another country. I'll say that again, you need money. I didn't know I had to be a millionaire before I became a doctor. What is this? Okay. So you need good credit, that's for sure. Just in case you can't get money from the States, you need to be good on paper, like seriously, because the limiting factor in medical school with some underrepresented individuals is that they didn't prepare for medical school, or they don't know they need to prepare for medical school in middle school. Like for some people, they preparing their children out the gate, but some of us don't even know. And that's not even just for medical school, that's for life in general, that you should have good credit. Like you need to know this and know what to do with it when you actually get a credit card. So I learned about building credit like when I was in high school because my sister bought me a book on finances. So I have almost like however many years of credit history because yeah, I learned it early. So yeah, going out the country, you have to be good on paper because that's the only way they can give you a loan. If not, then you have to have someone co-sign for you. And I noticed too, like if you wanted to have a card, like a debit card or whatever, if you use those, they're going to charge you that international fee. So be mindful of that too. So you out here just charging your card up or whatever the case is, there's an international fee on top of what you just paid for too. So I learned that with some cards, they might have it to where they like eliminate that international cost or international fee. And that can be done like with Cash App or just find a credit card that you can use internationally and not be charged. Also, the next thing with banking is you need a bank that allows you to deposit enough money that allows for your refund for school, which is the refund is coming because of your housing and, you know, like your books and stuff like that. So you need a bank that allows you to be able to deposit like $10,000 maybe, you know, and not you're waiting like 7 days and all this other stuff, or that they have to, because if your bank doesn't allow that, then the school has to break up your check. So say for instance, this happens a lot, that people get a check from school and it can't be cashed to their bank. So now they have to send their check back to the school, which means they don't have money. Means you're not going to be you're going to be doing nothing because that's your money to live off of for the semester. So now you have to send your check back to the school and tell them to cut it in half so that you'll be able to deposit into your bank. So yeah, that can be a hassle as well. But yeah, so you need to budget the money that they give you, because of course you don't have a job and you have to get your groceries, you know, you have to restock on regular supplies. And mainly I did that every 4 months. Every time I go back home, I'm like, I need to get stuff that I can take back to school so that I can avoid having to go to the grocery store and paying all these extra fees. The next thing, number 7, shipping costs are expensive. So if you want to run to the store for something quick, just know you ain't running nowhere fast, okay? Everything on an island costs. So not just running to the store. So that would be a part of the other, what I was talking about, taxes and all of that. But if you want to ship something here, you have to pay probably like an extra $50 or more to get what you want here. So you have to ship it from home. That's another fee. That might be 100 extra, whatever. And then when it gets here, it has to go through customs. So that is maybe another $100. It depends on what it is. And then you have to pay a tax to get there and then go back to your location. So that was just something that I wanted y'all to be mindful of, especially when coming as well as the shipping. So don't think that you're about to be just shipping stuff from home. This ain't the US, all right? So the next thing I wanted to talk about was summer breaks, and we will talk about that in part 2. Talk to y'all later.